Vaishya means someone who has their own business, is independent. Like I had my own independent business for many years. I was always a contractor. I never actually worked for a company. Even though I may have had a contract where they took some responsibilities, you know, for my taxes and stuff like that. Actually, I was an independent contractor. So I made my own schedule, I had my own office, I worked at home. Nobody could tell me when to come and go. I always negotiated my own deals and work and so on like that. So that is the minimum qualification for someone who can be a devotee, because then you can get up in the morning, you can do your morning program very nicely. You know, you turn on the phone when you're done, and then the day begins, and you do your business. You finish your business, and then the whole late afternoon and evening is simply chanting and devotional service, and very nice. That's the way I lived for many years. Anyone who has independent business can do like that. Then kshatriya, well, in this day and age, the only kshatriyas really are people like big businessmen and people like this, and who, you know, who have some kind of organization, and they enjoy running organizations. That's what kshatriyas are good at. So we see sometimes people will start a religious organization, and they'll have lots of people working under them, and they'll have all kinds of property and money and, you know, big buildings and all this stuff. But these people are more like kshatriyas actually than brahmanas, because their whole day from morning to night is politics and business and administration and negotiations and real estate and accounting and who's doing what and why, and, you know, all of this management stuff. Now, this is really more like kshatriya mentality. Most of the big leaders in ISKCON have like kshatriya mentality, not exactly brahmana mentality. But a real kshatriya, first-class kshatriya, always has a council of brahmanas advising him. What we would call today a cabinet for a political leader is actually supposed to be Brahmins. Because the kshatriya is involved in action, give and take, negotiations, diplomacy, compromise. He can't act on the platform of pure devotee, so his intelligence is not pure. But the brahmanas, their job is to simply keep themselves very pure and have perfect intelligence for giving good advice based on the Vedas. So a real kshatriya will always sponsor a school of brahmanas, see? And then he draws on the wisdom and intelligence of those brahmanas to know what to do. I mean, the perfect example in Kali Yuga is Chandragupta Maharaj. Chandragupta Maharaj became a disciple of Chanakya Pandit. And Chanakya Pandit was an expert brahmana. And Chanakya, he approached this young kshatriya and said, "How would you like to be king of South India?" And the boy said, "Oh, come on, you know, it's a nice idea, but it's not possible." And he said, "I'll show you how it's possible. You work with me as a brahmana, and just like give me a full freedom to do whatever I like. And then the deal is you have to accept my advice. I won't always advise, but when I do advise, you have to follow. If you do, then you'll be able to unify all these kings and dynasties in South India and drive out these Muslim invaders." And he did. So this was a very wonderful time in the history of Vedic culture, because Chanakya proved that if the Brahmana is qualified and the Kshatriya is qualified and they have the proper relationship, they can be very successful. See, so we want to also show this by training up. Our university program is designed to take people who are less than Shudras and first of all make them into good Shudras, and then Vaishyas, and then Kshatriyas, and then Brahmanas, and then beyond Brahmanas to real first-class Vaishnavas, Bhakti Vedanta, Sarvabhauma. See, Sarvabhauma means all over the world, teaching all over the world. Someone who's qualified to teach all over the world is Sarvabhauma, and that's the highest degree that we grant. Bhakti Vedanta is the next highest degree. It's equivalent to sannyas. So in Vedic society, there needs to be a group of brahmanas who can advise the management, whether it's one king, or like in our community vision, we have a managing body, like a board of directors, who manage by consensus. And we've tried out all these theories, and they actually work in practice. So we know what we're talking about. And our situation is that we, by starting this school, we gradually train up enough people to have a real Vedic community, because there is no such thing at the moment. Even in Prabhupada's ISKCON, they never established a true Varnashram society. Varnashram society does not mean that the Kshatriyas lord it over everybody and exploit everybody, and everybody has to serve them or else they're kicked out. No, that's dictatorship. That's not Vedic. That's not Vedic. If Lord Brahma subjected his wife Sita to a trial by fire because he heard some barber gossiping that she wasn't pure, how is that dictatorship? That's the opposite of dictatorship. That's when the Kshatriyas consider themselves to be servants of the people instead of the other way around. That's real Vedic society. So the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas are the servants of everybody. They consider themselves not the head of society, but they consider themselves at the feet of the Lord. And that they're simply humble servants of the Lord, and they want to help everybody. But the truth is, to reach that position, it requires tremendous qualification, beyond Brahmana. So yes, I want my students to become qualified Brahmanas, and more than that. I want them to become perfectly self-realized, pure devotees. Then we can actually say that we have a Vedic society, because we'll have the people needed to actually run that model, that Varnashram model, which has not existed in reality in thousands of years. Because Kali Yuga just wiped it out. So this is our long-term plan. And we're just going to keep at it until we get it. I hope that answered your question. Any more questions? Good.
Question from Luciano Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Please accept
Krishna.
my humble obeisances. Oh, Luciano, you misspelled obeisances. Question. Have the plans for India changed in any significant way?
Yes. We're not going to do the university program. When I was working on the draft of the university proposal, the way I was working is I was going to write everything exactly the way I saw it, without any compromise. And then I was going to edit it so that it would be an acceptable proposal for a typical university. And as I was writing it, with the full conception of what I wanted to do, I realized they are never going to buy this. Or if we want them to buy it, we're going to have to change it so much that it won't be effective. And the reason is that universities in general, and I suspect universities in India in particular, are reactive. They're not proactive. They don't innovate, they follow. So like in any business, for example, my computer business that I was in for years, universities are always 3 to 5 years behind the technology. Now it's become so, because the technology is changing so fast, A lot of people are coming out of university with no practical marketable skills because the scene is changing so fast. By the time they get out of school, the stuff they learned is obsolete. And this is happening in a lot of fields. Look at what's happening in the publishing field, for example. Newspapers are going broke one after the other. I think every week you read about another newspaper has stopped publishing. And they're freaking out. The record industry, another good example. The technology has made their business model obsolete. And they responded by suing their customers, which is always a wonderful move. Who would want to do business with a company that is in the habit of suing their customers? Oh, boy. So they basically